Fun stuff. Julie, if you want to kick it off with the slides, that'd be
Sure. Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining us today for this introduction to FundRazr and crowdfunding. I am Julie Jehly. I formed my own company, JJ Crowdfunding Advisors, earlier this year. Prior to starting my business, I was the Director of Fiscal Sponsorship Collaborations with FundRazr, and the parent company is Connection Point. So you might hear both of those names. So I was there for a couple of years. Prior to that, I was the Development and Fiscal Sponsorship Director with MarinLink, which is a fiscal sponsor in Marin County. And prior to that, I was with nonprofits for over 15 years doing fundraising, community outreach. So with my business, I'm combining all of this expertise and experience into, I guess I could say, one-stop shopping. So a little bit about FundRazr. They have been around since 2009. Here are some of the other fiscal sponsors using the platform. There's Austin Creative Alliance, CERT, Alternative News Weekly Foundation, Jewish Creativity, and then some other nonprofit names, Make-A-Wish and the Y. So just to give you a little context for the organization and the platform in the event FundRazr is a new name for you. So a bit on the customer support and training you can get to create campaigns, ask questions. So certainly I am your personal contact. There's my email, reach out to me anytime. Happy to assist you. I've got my website and I'm writing blogs on there. So I've got one up, I've got a couple more percolating, so there'll be some more coming. And then Connection Point has plenty of resources. There's the Help Center, which if you feel like working on your campaign Saturday night at 10 o'clock and nobody's responding to your email, feel free to go to the Help Center. They also have a hub that has weekly drop-in office hours, live and recorded webinars and toolkits. So there's the address there. And then I'll provide this all to Carmen after the meeting, so you'll have this resource in this slide too, so you can see where you can find some customer service. But really take advantage of the Connection Point information because it's all there and the webinars are great. They're like 2 of them a week or 2 a month. Okay, pricing. Using the platform is free to you as the project, to the fiscal sponsor. Some other crowdfunding platforms charge for use, but FundRazr doesn't. You will have a credit card processing fee, like, there's no way around it. Local Color uses PayPal. So this is generally, the price is 1.99% and 49 cents. So that will be with every transaction, every donation that you get. And then the last slide I have here is the pricing for you as a project under Local Color. So Local Color is using the nearly free model. So what that means is there's a 5% transaction fee that the platform charges. So if you get a donation of $100, take that 5% fee, and then the credit card fee. Generally, the donation comes to $108.44. So the donor is asked to cover that fee. The donor has to opt in. 90% of the time they do, because they will get a tax deduction for that $108.44. And they want you, they're endorsing your work, they're on an endorphin high, they will cover that because they want you to get $100, not $91. So that makes the average cost of your fundraising 1.85%. Like I said, the donor gets the tax deduction, and this supports recurring donations. So something I'll share too is making an evergreen campaign, which that will serve as a donation page. There's no expiration date on there. There's no balance running. So that can really support the recurring gifts because that campaign can go on for years and have your recurring donors on there. So I'm going to move into the live platform demo, but any questions about any of this before I move on? Going once, going twice? Okay. Okay, so Local Color is on the platform as the fiscal sponsor, and they are at the hierarchy. So this is a page that Local Color sees as your fiscal sponsor. So these are all the projects and their organizations on the platform. So you can see everybody here. You as a project will only have access to your information. So Project A will not see Project B, B will not see A, but Local Color sees everybody because they're holding the account. So we're going to go ahead and jump into a campaign and kind of just start, creating a campaign, start looking around a bit, and we're going to focus on these folks. Okay, so here is the organization page for Arctangent, and this is their starting point for all of their information. And I'll show you just a couple little things about it that you all will have access to for your own account. So one thing, it's the banking and payments are all set up. They've put in the PayPal information, so that's all good to go. Your pricing is at the nearly free model. If you use MailChimp for any email blasts to your donors, connect it here. And then if you get new donors from your campaign, the platform will automatically update MailChimp for you. If you don't use MailChimp, you'll have access to all of the donor information that you can manually input, and I'll show you where that is. Any questions so far? Okay. So after the meeting, you'll all be invited to your own account, which I'll go ahead and do this. So then you'll be on the team. So let's just go ahead and create a campaign. So again, this is the home page. It's as easy as click the button. So here I grabbed some information from their site. So I'm just going to make this as a quick title. And everything can be changed. Nothing is set in stone. They can totally change this, because this is really just a starting point for demonstration. So add a picture. So let's see, we're going to grab this easy. Grab this from their site. And write a story. So this gives you some advice on how to write your story. What's the problem, the solution, where's the barrier? So basically, where does the donor become the hero? How do they solve your problem? So I'll just drop in some information again that I got from their site. Write the story. And all of these features are basically, like word processing. You can bold, you can do some colors. So I'm going to leave it as is right now and then circle back to show you how easy it is to change things. So they're not in Rohnert Park. I'm in Rohnert Park. Are they in San Jose, Carmen? Okay. So I'm creating this as an evergreen campaign. So I'm not going to put in a goal amount because, I want to have the money keep coming in. If this was going to be, say, a summer campaign to run August through September, then I might put in a goal amount because I want my donors to see this is where I'm going. And I would put in a deadline of, say, 60 days. But there's no deadline because this is going to be an evergreen. So again, evergreen has no expiration date. It keeps going. And with the platform, you can have as many campaigns as you want running. You can have your evergreen running. You can have one for the holidays, year end. You can have the summer one. So there's no limit on how many things that you can do. So here's the campaign. So a couple things just to point out. I do want to share briefly. When you create your campaign and you're ready to have it launched, what you'll do is click Submit It Now. The local color team will take a look at it and then go ahead and launch it. But they want to take a look before it goes live. So just so you know, you've got that step. Pencils. Pencils are your friend. It's super easy to make a quick change, make a big change. And remember, when you're doing this, the donor really, we're all visual. So it needs to be engaging. It can be noisy out there. So go ahead and put in a color, right? Because already it's a little more engaging to look at this camp and want to find out more about them. So pencils are here. It grabbed the social media content based on what I put in for a story. So I looked at their stuff a little bit. So I'm going to update that. I'm just going to click the pencil. You know, support us. This is who we are. It's what we strive to do. And there, so I've updated that. I also want to edit here because they have a Vimeo link. So again, I really recommend doing a 30, 60-second video because we're all getting used to it. It's noisy out there. If the donor is new to you, how are you going to help convince that donor to make a gift to you? I didn't take it. Okay, well, I'll try that later. But you want to go ahead and convince the donor to actually, let me do it this way. How are you going to stand out, right? So if they get to meet you, they see your face. Let's see if that'll work from there. Okay, I don't know why it's not working.
Maybe it's because it's a channel and like not
a video itself.
Maybe it needs to be an individual video link. I haven't used Vimeo in a while. I'm usually on YouTube.
Well, let's just stop that. Okay, well, you get the idea. So really go ahead and put in, you know, personalize it as much as you can. Think about if somebody comes to you that is new to you and they're asking you to donate, what would you want to know? You'd want to know more about them. Where's the money going to be used? How is that work going to make a difference? So look a little bit at what would you want to know if you were a new donor. So let's go ahead and update this a bit. This is a little not very engaging. You can personalize this link here, which I recommend you do for an evergreen because it's going to keep going. So that way, when you share it, it's easier to remember than, you know, this. So I want to make this heading. Let's go to, let's center it, and let me change the color to green. So this is how easy it is to change this. And you can even preview changes before it sets. So you know if you like it or not. Not that you can't undo it, but you know, that's an easy thing to check on. So this is what it looks like on desktop. So you can do previews. This is tablet and mobile. So that's really good too, to see what's the donor going to see and make sure that you don't have a bunch of white space. So there's a social media summary. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save because all of this can easily be changed. So tax receipts are turned on. So this is where funding and deadline is where, so there's the goal, let's know there's no deadline. So a couple things, you know, of course you want your funding is keep it all. If you want to go ahead and personalize dollar amounts, you can. Allow the donors to go ahead and put in their own amount. So this is where you turn on recurring donations. So let's just go ahead and turn it on. And leave the option here for the donor to, leave the option where the donor has to opt in. Because if you set the recurring donations as the default, the donor's not going to see it. And they're going to go, wait, I got another charge. And then you've opened up this whole can of worms where your donor's unhappy. I really suggest personalizing the contribute button. Make it personal to what your nonprofit is, because you already want to start getting the donor to have some buy-in. So those are a few things, but really that's how easy it is to create a campaign. Any questions about this?
Yeah, I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm Ruben, by the way. How you doing?
Hi, Ruben. Julie, nice to meet you.
I'm an artist out of Gilroy, and I'm under the event-based fiscal nonprofit kind of agreement with Local Colors. And this seems to be sort of like, the Evergreen campaign. It seems to be like something that would be really beneficial for someone with an ongoing relationship. Carmen, if you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but because if we're working together on this one event, it's not necessarily an evergreen campaign per se that would make sense for this. It seems to be like we need to raise funds for this particular event, and this particular event happens on a particular date, and so it kind of has a time window, a timestamp for when we want to raise these funds. Are there ways that you've seen that we can run multiple campaigns for a singular event that happens, that's going to happen towards the end of the year? Like, is there a benefit to having an open-ended and evergreen campaign for something like this, essentially, is my question.
Definitely. So you can create another campaign that's just for your event. You can have QR codes on here to serve as your tickets. So you can have all of that running on the platform. And then you can have your evergreen that one runs year round and has your recurring donors. So I recommend that you have both, because your event campaign is going to run, say, 3 months. And you can have recurring donors on there, but they're going to time out after 3 months. Versus if you have this evergreen, maybe you don't promote it a whole lot, right? Because you want all the money right now to go to your primary, to your event. But then after your event ends, say in September, you really start promoting your evergreen as either your entire year-end campaign, right? And then you get the donors, because getting one donor to give you $10 a month is $120 a year versus one donor that can only give you $100 once, right? So you can totally run both of them. If not, another one that you feel like you want to do one just in October for something. Because the evergreen will also serve as some of your capital, right? Because you've got internet expenses and you've got whatever your expenses are that are year round. Whereas your events, you want to cover your events expenses and make some money. So does that make sense? And Carmen, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just that, like just doubling down, that I would say multiple campaigns would be like the right option. So setting up a campaign that details the specific goal amount for this year's La Ofrenda Festival, but to also create an evergreen campaign in the situation that you want to do this again next year, or that additional funding can go back towards this project. The great thing about fundraising is that unless you create restrictions, or unless a donor communicates restrictions, this is unrestricted funding. And so anything under the work that you're doing, and and for Local Color, what we recognize is like any work that you're doing that's related to a community benefit project is what we're able to support under the Local Commons. And under that Local Commons agreement, although we initiated it to apply for that initial grant, we do want to support just the overall, and the agreement does technically last for a year. I would say like Jess Gutierrez was on the call, it's a great example. So the Martha Street Quarantine, you know, the funds that we kind of directly created the fiscal sponsorship agreement for to apply for a grant. Those funds are already used, but the work that Martha Street Art does is still ongoing. And so to be able to like continue offering our services, to be able to help solicit that tax deductible donations with people that are already looking to support is something that we're able to do under the local commons agreement. And so, you know, if it's like 2025 and it's still ongoing and you still have these reoccurring donors in here, these funds will continue to be earmarked for those purposes.
Okay, that totally makes sense. So it's not just restricted fundraising for the event, it's just mostly just, I mean, it could be any other kind of community-based projects that I'm running with obviously the primary focus at the moment being La Ofrenda Festival, but anything else can also be used that way to sort of allow for donors to, you know, to get that incentive of tax write-off, but also just so it's easier, more streamlined process.
Yep. And then that Evergreen campaign, like I said, it could be like updated. So if you know, starting off, it's the La Ofrenda Festival is kind of like the main focus, but maybe you add in that spring bike ride or whatever else. It allows for you to continue, you know, receiving those donations while also meeting that specific goal for this year's festival. So you can, yeah, absolutely, you can do both.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. And I want to add too, there's an opt button that you can go ahead and turn on that the donor has the option to say, let these funds go to the best use. So say you go ahead and turn that on for your event. So the donor comes to that and sees, you know, the button that they can have you use it for whatever expenses you need to. The donor can click that button. So in essence, that's giving you permission to use it for something else. If you want to turn that on for the donor.
Got it. Okay.
Can you show us
And
where
that's on there too.
Well, you know, I was like, as soon as I'm saying that, I got to remember where it is.
Yeah, I know, right? That always happens.
But briefly, okay, so here's all the different campaign layouts that I just wanted to show you too. So there's just there's so many choices. So I know it's going to be in, let me see if it's in funding a deadline. No, it's not here. If I don't find it right away, I don't want to take a lot of time looking for this, but marketing. Okay, well, here's text to give. This is where you turn that on. So if you want to turn on text to give, say they write the special code here. As you type it in, it'll tell you if it's available, and then that can be your text to give, and it has some instructions in there on that.
What's text to give? Sorry.
Sure. So you would get this code and you can email it out. The donor gets the code and they can, from their phone, they'll get a text that they click the link and they donate from their phone.
So it's kind of like their special code that like tracks like how they've helped impact the campaign. Is that it? Or
so if you go ahead and turn on text to give, they will get you can send out a text that has the link to your campaign. So they do it all from their phone without having to go to the website, because the link will just send them straight to your campaign.
Okay. Yeah, I totally misread that. I get it now. Sorry.
Okay. No worries. I mean, like I said, this is a lot of information coming at you pretty quick.
It kind of reminds me of like a bit.ly or something where like you're basically making a shortcut to the website, so that say you make like a post and you have like a graphic or a poster that you physically hang, people can go to it without typing in like a really long website as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm in privacy. I am going to show you. So this is where I'm going to hide the stats as I keep looking for the one that we're trying to find. So that way it won't show the money that's raised, right? Because this is going to be evergreen. But I do want to show the activity feed, who's donated. All right. So actually, I'm not going to turn that on. Yes, there it is. Okay, data collection. Prompt for unrestricted usage of funds. So right now the donor doesn't see that prompt. So if I wanted to turn that on, I again suggest turning it on as unchecked and have the donor opt in. So then the donor would see this message here. I'd like the organization to use my contribution where it's needed most. So if you wanted to do that for your event, that's then giving you that permission to use it for your other expenses and not the event expenses. And I wanted to mention too, Ruben, the donor can have the option to round up their gift. So say they're making a contribution for your event or buying tickets. They also have the option to give you more money beyond what you're asking. Just to share those features. So I was going to go ahead, unless you have any other questions, I'm going to show you some other campaigns that have been created and are running, so you have an idea of what it looks like. Anything else here before I move on? No? Okay. I'm just going to hit cancel because I clicked a lot of things. Okay, so again, this is what you'll see when you're ready to submit. All right. So here's another fiscal sponsor. This is Alternative News Weekly Foundation. The project is Shoestring, and this is what this looks like for Shoestring. This is their page. Here's their Evergreen campaign. So you'll see they personalize this to support local news. This is their logo color, this very bright yellow. So here's their story, right? This is their Evergreen, right? So the donor information is showing, and I'm going to go back to this page, and then they're running a summer campaign. So, right, Ruben, so they've got 2 campaigns running. There's no goal here because that's their evergreen. Their summer campaign has a goal of $16,000. So something you can do is you can clone one campaign to the next without having to recreate everything. So they cloned their evergreen campaign, changed the image, contribute today. So here you'll see the dollar amount is showing where they are towards their goal, how many days the campaign's been running. So that's a big visual difference between an evergreen and a specific time period and ask. Here's where all the sharing is for the donor and for you, if you want to go ahead and share it out. So I want to touch on updates. So this is something that you write and you can share. Anybody that has signed up, any donor that has signed up for updates, whenever you do one, will get an email. So it's a way to keep your campaign top of mind, keep the donor invested in what you're doing, right? So they've given you money. They want to know about your success. So the donor opts in. This is great. For your event, Ruben, you can be like, hey, thanks to everybody. We are able to rent the Jumpy because of your donations. Thank you so much, right? Donors want to be the hero. They want to see that they're making a difference. So you have to tell them. So I really, use the update feature. It's super easy. And you can set it, you can schedule them. So if you want it to show up on Saturday morning, great, do it Saturday morning so you're not working. And I want to show a bit of their transactions. So you will have all of this information for all of your donations. Local Color will have this information, but you'll have it as well. So you can look, here I'm looking just at the campaign level, just for this one campaign. So this is the donations that have come in. So I want to go ahead and look at a report. Sure. Well, you know what? I'm just going to look. I'm just going to look for this month, just for the sake of making it kind of easier. I'm going to download it. So this is where you'll see all of your donor data. If you're going to do snail mail around the holidays, if you've got an email list, then you don't use MailChimp, this is where you'll find it all. So here are the donors. So this is how much they gave, the net amount, right? So the donors covered the fees. So there's the recovered fees, right? So that 90% of the time they pick it up. So this is their summer campaign, and a couple of folks are choosing to be recurring. So they will have this recurring donor for, 3 or 4 months, however long they chose to run the campaign. Offline contributions. So if a check comes into you from Local Color, or comes in from a donor, comes into Local Color, they can add it to your fundraising amount. So I've been donated $500 by check. Local Color can add it so that the total goes up that you've raised, and then the platform can still send the tax receipts for the donor. So there's no fees from the platform on this one because it didn't come through the platform. Here's where you have your donor data, right? Their mailing, their name, their mailing address, where they're located. If it was an organization, if a company was making a gift, that would all show up in here. Some folks wrote comments. And here's some more of the donor data. These folks wanted to have their names be on the campaign, have it be visible. Some yeses, they want the amount shown. So these are all the folks that subscribe to updates. So really just one person, well, the offline. So only 3 people are not receiving updates. So all of these folks want to know what's going on. They're invested in the work. So tell them, right? Because you want to keep them involved. You want them to come back at year end. So Ruben, they might come to your event, but you want them to circle back. So again, so you have access to all of this information at any time. Any questions on the transaction report?
So this would be I use MailChimp, so this would be helpful to just take a look at in case we were curious to see, from like a bird's eye view. But as far as the maintenance of such a list, like that's handled automatically through MailChimp, you said?
So it's a combination. So if you go ahead and connect MailChimp, and you get and somebody sees your campaign that's not already in your MailChimp, MailChimp will populate, that the platform will populate that person into MailChimp for you. You won't have to manually add them in. So they'll show up here because they made a gift. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just more making sure that I don't have to be updating the list manually if I use MailChimp. That's automatic. That's done through the platform.
Correct.
Yeah.
Unless you get somebody outside the platform, then you have to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But this is also helpful, if you ever want to send postcards or like the snail mail option that Julie was saying.
That makes sense, yeah.
And and if you really want to dig into the weeds, where do your donors live? Maybe how far do you want to take your fundraising and donor cultivation?
That makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
Now, do y'all have an option to produce those postcards based off the list that we have here?
Does the platform send postcards?
Yeah, does the platform send postcards? Oh man, that's the next step right there.
That would be epic if FundRazr added a mail merge function. But if you YouTube label making with mail merge, it may change your life.
Yeah.
Well, totally right. I mean, and this is an Excel file, so you can do mail, your mail merge and make it happen, and you have some volunteers come in and slap on some postcards. Okay, we're good on transactions. Okay. So I want to go ahead and look at analytics. So you will also have access to this information. So for this campaign, this is how much money they've raised. It's been running for 40 days. So there's the $500 offline contribution. Their average donation is $56. And down here, the pricing and fees, here's the weeds. So they're asking everybody to make the cover the fees. 89% of the people are. So their effective fee rate is 1.1%. So that's how much they're paying to use the platform, have the credit card processing to get those donations. So it's only costing them 1%. So I know that slide of like 90% of the time seems like really that's too good to be true, but they really do. And then here's their volume. So 21 people shared this campaign on Facebook and 51 people subscribed to updates. And then there's the volume. So just to show you a little bit too of some of the information that you can get, that you'll have access to. Okay, any questions before I move on to some other campaigns to show you?
Quickly, are there other social platforms besides Facebook that people can push campaign to, or is that just like the most popular one?
It is the most popular one, and yes, there are. So there's Twitter, LinkedIn, Messenger, and email, and I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see Instagram, but I guess that's kind of a different way to post.
Well, you can drop the link into it, right?
Yeah.
But just from straight up right here, that's it.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh, sure. I mean, you could even drop it into Thread, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a few other campaigns just to show you what other folks have done. This is a different fiscal sponsor, and this is the project. So this is not an evergreen campaign, right? They've got all of their amounts here. This is where they personalize the button, and they're selling gear as well. Claim this perk, right? So you get a perk. So not necessarily selling. This is a gift with donation. So you can set up all kinds of items here too. And I'll show you real briefly, quick, here's their, here's an update that they did. Thank you so much. Right? Who is a donor wouldn't want to know how great their efforts are and how they're helping. So I'm just going to show you briefly how you would go ahead and start putting in rewards, is what they're called on the platform. So these are the items that they have. You can clone them. So let's just go ahead and do a new one, and I'm just not going to save it. What's the name? You put in a picture. So you have a choice of 4 items. You can do a perk, right? Anything that's of value. What's a product? If you've got something for sale, that's a little bit different. Ticket, right? This is where you would go ahead and do your ticketing if you wanted to, Ruben, and put it on the platform with the QR codes. And this is a wish. If you've got something that's, kind of a big item where the donor doesn't get any benefit beyond the tax advantage. So, like if you had a $10,000 item that you really needed, you could ask people to contribute to the wish. This is where you can have the price be fixed or flexible, your cost. So if you've got a t-shirt that's $10, the donor gives a $100 gift, the t-shirt is $10, they get the tax receipt for $90. So it'll say $100, it'll have the $10 deduction, and it'll say $90. So that's already set up on the platform for you. It's all set to go. If a donor does make the straight $100 gift, that tax receipt is already all set to go too. So that's all done. The platform does it for you, but this is where you put in the information so the platform knows what to do. Variants, if you're having t-shirts, this is where you put it all here, all that information. Quantity and delivery, whatever you want to do here. Do you want to show stats? How many t-shirts were purchased or received? Delivery date, shipping, you can put all of that here. Promo code, if you've got somebody that gets a discount, this is where you put in that code and share that code with the person. Oh, okay,
Yeah, I had a sorry,
sure.
was gonna add I had a change of venue here. So when I started my company like 9 years ago, I used Kickstarter. So this seemed like pretty intuitive to like have like the rewards and stuff. So that I thought that was cool. Now, as far as fulfilling these rewards, does the platform obviously provide, if it's a shippable item, is it like a delivery in person type of thing? Like, can it manage all those things in that way?
Well, you can go ahead and put in the data of what you're going to do, but
Mhm.
you're the one physically putting the package in the box and in the mail.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
that answer?
that the physical delivery part, I just meant like the information needed to execute on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I'm assuming it'll capture obviously shipping address there. Yeah, exactly.
Right, because that'll come up when the donor makes their gift.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because my
Um,
thought was potentially donations for folks that are coming to the event. They could like pick up a poster or something that they got based off their donation amount. They can just
sure.
come and pick up a
So
poster that day.
I'm trying to think of how you would fulfill that. Um, I mean, you could give them, I don't know. Let me think about how you could fulfill that, because you might just have them. Well, wouldn't it? So I don't know. Let me tease that out, because you wouldn't want to give the poster to everybody.
Well, some people would the poster would be available for purchase at the event, but those that donated in advance or donated a certain amount would get that poster then for free when they would come to the event.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
if people pay at the door, they won't have a receipt or a QR code. So anybody that would show you a QR code could just show it at the poster window.
Yeah, well, that's a good question because this event's going to be actually free to the public. There won't be uh purchase tickets, but that brings up another question. Should I just do free tickets anyway? Should I put it on the platform as free tickets to keep track of that stuff in advance and sort of have some of those benefits from the platform of having the QR code, etc., for having the ticket, even if it's free?
Yeah, I think that there's tons of benefits for having someone register for an event, even
Yeah.
if it's a free event. So we can definitely kind of play around and demo in this to see
Yeah.
if this is the best option for managing that. But yes, like
Got it.
just to be able to you're going to be doing your best to count people throughout the day.
Yeah.
But also having that pre-registration kind of gives your team a little bit more preparedness of like, oh, okay, like, are we already expecting 1,000 people, or like 70% of the 1,000 people that pre-registered? So it kind of helps in that regard as well. So, but is
Cool.
there possible, Julie, to see a transaction report when someone has chosen a perk?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's go ahead and show their transaction report.
All confidential.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's not like anybody's going to really manage to capture a donor name out of this quickly. But what you could do, Ruben, is if it's free, and you ask people on the platform to make a donation, they could just show you their tax receipt or their email confirming their gift. All right, so let's look at their report from last month and see what's in here. So yeah, so these are the folks that chose items, right? So these are all their gifts from last month. And there's the mailing information. So there's the shipping information, right? So they had to do that. So there's their donor information. So there's the shipping information in the event that's different than the donor information. And then that's all the same up there for the other stuff. So, yeah, does that answer your question, Carmen?
I think so, yeah. I guess kind of just troubleshooting how that would work out best for folks. Maybe just, I know to save on postage would be beneficial, but just consider how feasible is it for someone to be at an info desk with a laptop. Someone comes up, they either show their receipt, you've like downloaded a cleaned up list of this, so that you can like check off that that person has received like their poster. So yeah, we can talk about that more offline.
Okay, but the receipt does, the report does break out who got items. Yeah, and then there's the shipping costs for one person. So, yeah. Okay, any other questions on this? No, okay.
This is great, thank you.
Oh, sure, sure. So I just want to show you a couple other, another campaign. So the Bay Bridge is getting some new lights. So there's a nonprofit called Illuminate, which is running a campaign. They have, this is called a sponsor banner. So John and Marcia Goldman Foundation is matching donations. So if you have somebody that wants to do a match or cover transaction fees, this is where that company or organization can get basically top billing on the campaign. So that can be a motivator for that person too, to say, hey, you're going to get a lot of visibility. So this is how much money they've raised through the platform. This is how much is in the match. And this is a peer-to-peer campaign. So host a fundraiser. Here's the story that Illuminate's writing about the getting the new lights. And these are peer-to-peer campaigns. So all of these folks are invested in the lights, new lights coming on. And they've raised various amounts of money. But what's cool, and I'll show you Lisa's in a moment, but what's cool is they're reaching new donors that are unaware potentially of Illuminate. So Illuminate has a campaign. They've got these 7 folks running peer-to-peer campaigns. So they're sharing it with their colleagues, their friends, their family, and reaching donors that Illuminate may be unaware of. So I'll go ahead and take a look at Lisa's. So Lisa's a board member, and she wrote a personal story. So all of Lisa's friends that might be unaware of Illuminate now will get the message through Lisa. She's written about why this matters to her. So she's given Illuminate some validation, in essence, a referral to ask them to also donate. So the person doing the peer-to-peer can also go ahead and put in a personal note. Any questions on peer-to-peer?
Is there additional logistics needed on the campaign manager for something like this, or is it pretty like self-serve? And like at what point do you have to decide if it's peer-to-peer versus something else?
I would say pretty early, because you're going to pick a different layout. You're going to pick a peer-to-peer right here in the layouts.
Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, and if you start a campaign and you're like, oh rats, I should have made it a peer-to-peer, you could always either switch it over or just clone it and make it a peer-to-peer.
Got it.
Yeah. And look at, I'm getting ready to leave, and it's like, oh, do you want to contribute? So I have another chance to see it. Sometimes this pops up, and sometimes it's asking the donor to share. So that's a peer-to-peer. And I want to touch on widgets. So this is another fiscal sponsor, Jewish Creativity, and these are some of their evergreen campaigns. So your evergreen campaign can also have a widget that you can put on your personal website. Local Color is going to put these widgets on their website. So in the event somebody has heard of Local Color and wants to support their projects but hasn't heard of you, it's a way to cross-reference. So a widget, so I'm the donor, I just want to learn more. So here's some information. Well, I'm ready to donate. So I'm just going to click the contribute button and it takes me straight to the donate page. So this is a little bit of what it looks like for the donor, right? I get to hide my name, hide my contribution. This is where the donor opts in to receive updates, can write a personal message. So I'm wondering if I want to cover the fees. How does it help? Why should I do this? Well, here, this is why I could go ahead and do that. No, I don't want to cover the fees. It's not feeling right. I just click change. I'll opt out. So then the amount is the 2,500. So that's a little bit of what the donor experience looks like too. So that was my presentation. Any questions?
We are at 11, but I do want to add just like in regards to the widgets. So you can create a widget for your campaigns and put that on your website, your landing pages, and then Local Color will also be updating our local commons page. And so it'll be like a info, like how it is right now, showing like who the projects we support are, but then also adding these donation widgets so that people can also just come to our website, like they know that we're connected and they can just support your specific project through the local commons like landing page also. Yeah.
And just in closing too, I want to add, so I, will go ahead and work with each project for some help to get your campaign started, get your evergreen going, and really get you squared away. So yeah, so I'm here to help you, and I'll give you some one-on-one attention to get you going.
Great, thank you.
Just
Sure.
to clarify before we go, so building our, I guess, accounts, because I know you showed us the landing page of what it looks like from, or not the landing page, but I guess from Local Colors view, I guess like how they can see all their campaigns. So when are we creating our own separate account and then like linking, or how does that, or is Local Color like inviting us and then there's like a login link? Yeah, like
Sure. So Jess, what's your project again?
it's the Martha Street, so I think it's the third one
Okay.
down.
Okay, so your account is already made.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do after the meeting is invite you, and then you'll have access to this page and you can start looking around, see what's here. And then you can go to campaigns and just start creating your own campaign.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and
Sure.
feel free to customize it. I know it says Martha Street Quarantine now, so if you want to just change that to Martha Street Art Night or however makes sense. And yeah, so all the customizability is there, which is why we really liked this. And it provides the autonomy for project directors as well as like the oversight for Local Color as well. But as far as all of the details, that's self-controlled, which is what we saw as a benefit. And those automatic tax receipts, so you can very confidently say, please make a donation. It's tax deductible. We're fiscally sponsored by Local Color, 501c3. You'll get a tax receipt. Hopefully that'll that psychological donor stewardship will hopefully improve with this being an option.
Yeah, I do want to share one more thing. I'm glad you said about the tax receipts. So this donor here, Karen, did not put in the information. So she did not get a tax receipt because she didn't input the data. So you can click this button here at the campaign level, send reminders, and anybody that didn't do a tax receipt will get an email to put in their data. So you can do that periodically throughout the year. Certainly do it at the beginning of January when everybody's thinking about their taxes. So the donor will get an email, hey, we need some information for you to get your tax receipt. So and I want to touch on that too, is we ask donors to give their donor data after they make the gift instead of before, because if they're new to you, they might be a little hesitant to give away too much information. So, and I mean, you can always switch it and ask for their information first, but we found it's better to do it after and then circle back once they get to know you more, because you don't want to miss out on the gift.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So any other questions?
Nice. Well, will I get invited too?
Yes, and you're
Right?
already.
Yeah, yeah.
I want an invitation.
No, seriously, as soon as we wrap up, I'm going to drink some water and start sending everybody
Yes.
their invitations.
Yes, please hydrate. Very important. Yes.
Awesome. Well, I am going to go ahead and